Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Krishnakumar. Truly a pleasure having you on ET Now.
Thank you, and it's equally a pleasure for me as well.
So it's been about 4 months since you've taken over and are the captain of Coca-Cola India. But you are an old hand, and you've been with the company for now over a decade or so. What would you say are your first observations in terms of the challenges that lie ahead for you?
See, I would not be very honest if I didn't tell you that I was aware of what was happening. In fact, I was part of what was happening. So when I came in here, the advantage one had was one had a reasonable perspective of what was happening and what needed to be done in a hurry.
Okay.
So it helped me to accelerate certain areas of work, which we had actually started. So to that extent, I had an advantage being an old hand in the system.
Right, right. But Mr. Kumar, you've also taken over at a time which is, not the rosiest of times. You've come in at a time when, we've just gone through demonetization. We've just been hit by GST. You have a new global CEO in James Quincey who has a different strategic vision compared to Mr. Kent.
Well, to take a step back, let me start with James taking over as CEO. I think James' vision is an enhanced one of what we were doing till now.
Okay.
I mean, he said that we would make the company larger than its biggest and most loved brand, that we would move to have beverages for life, which straddles all the drinking moments in a day and straddles the lifespan. So from that perspective, for me, it was an enhanced, a broadened and more ambitious vision that was set. Now in terms of the present situation that we encountered in our markets, I think as a marketer, you can look this as a challenge, which it is for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a massive opportunity to build on whatever good things we had, to align and adapt ourselves to the changed macroeconomic scenario, and be prepared to go for the next journey of good performance and good sort of sustainable growth. And so that's the way I looked at it. The key other thing which has been happening is not really restricted to India or restricted to what's happened in the last couple of years. It is that the consumers are now wanting a bigger choice, and they want it very fast, and they want it as customized as possible, which I think is a different challenge per se. So all this means that we have to accelerate whatever we are doing. And that was the perspective with which I came into the job.
Right. I'm glad you brought up the last point. Customers want more choice today. Now, while I'm well aware that there is a, health and wellness vibe that we've seen globally. Having said that, in more sophisticated and advanced markets, I can understand that people are moving away from, colas and looking at a more healthy way of living. But in India, right, which is still not such a sophisticated market, would you say that this health and wellness has really taken over, or are we making too much of it?
See, well, let me make one point very clear. See, this health is a very relative concept.
That's true.
We offer pretty safe drinks, and I think I want to clarify that right at the beginning.
Right.
Having said that, I believe India exists in multiple segments.
Right.
I mean, to have one view of India is a bit of a risk.
Absolutely.
I think you have the extreme India, which I would call the affluent class in India, or the educated person, the way you want to define it, who are no different from the West, or who are no different from people in developed countries. They have exposure to all that. And there are the people who are aspiring to come up in India, which is the other extreme, who are possibly having basic requirements in terms of getting nourishment, in terms of getting energy, in terms of getting to quench their thirst.
Right.
So at the end of the day, we need to straddle all segments, and hence it becomes imperative for us to look at providing a choice where any consumer in India can pick up a beverage of their choice for the drinking moment of the day. And that is the journey that we will work on accelerating as we go along.
Why don't you talk to me about you moving on to a much broader themed company, not being just in the carbonated beverages category, and looking to become a much more holistic beverage company and more. If you can just give me a sense of why that whole shift of alignment has happened, why this new strategic vision, and how is it going to impact the India market?
See, we have always kept adding categories. It is not that today that we are trying to do it. If you go back 10 to 12 years back, we were essentially a sparkling company.
Okay.
We had the sparkling brands. Then we added to these brands a juice brand, which was a tiny brand then called Maaza, which has become one of the largest consumer brands in the country today. And then we expanded the juice portfolio besides Maaza with Minute Maid, which straddled multiple flavors. We were a relatively marginal player in water 10 years back. Today we are the leader in the water segment, in the normal packaged drinking water segment. So consistently we have been expanding our presence. Added to that, we have made forays or pilots in flavored milk, which is value added dairy. We have tried to do a pilot on iced tea, which is again another category. We are in the process of doing a pilot, which was started 18 months back, on enhanced hydration, which is Aquarius. So now with this stated approach of the company wanting to become a total beverage player faster, what it gives us is the license to accelerate what we have been doing in the last decade. Albeit in a slow process, but now we would do it in an accelerated process and try to straddle as many categories as possible.
And what is the India impact? Would you say, for instance, I think India is still, largely a sparkling drinking kind of community. I mean, we haven't yet moved, if you look at just the ratio skew. Given that, I'm saying your current pivot to expand it, do you think Indians are moving away from colas, or do you think that the slowdown of the category as a whole is actually thanks to something else?
See, well, if you look at the last few years, for instance, I think there have been some macro headwinds, part of it driven by a bit of taxation, and part of it driven by some consumer preferences, and part of it driven by competition. So it's a mixture of 3 to 4 external factors, which has resulted in some interplay in terms of salience of various categories. Now, if you ask me, has sparkling slowed down? I'm making it slightly broad-based than just colas. I would say that it is far from having slowed down. I mean, we have had a flattish trend for a few quarters, but then we believe that we have addressed some of the things which we needed to address, and we could see a pretty good renewed growth in the next few years to come. But are we satisfied with it? We are not, because if you see the beverage opportunity in India is huge. And if you look at in the beverage opportunity, we normally define the beverage opportunity based on how much beverage people consume. Okay. That's sort of some in stratosphere. Out of that, hardly 17 to 20% just gets sold as a commercial beverage. A commercial beverage is something for which people pay money.
Sure.
The rest of it, you can easily guess, is tap water or filtered water or whatever. Then out of this commercial beverages, hardly 6% gets packaged and sold. So there is a huge untapped commercial beverage market, which till now we have not addressed in an accelerated manner. So we are going to address that in an accelerated manner. And one of these large commercial beverages, which is yet to be addressed in a very significant manner, is actually fruit-based beverages. This is a large unpackaged segment which gets sold in India. It's basically fruit brought by retailers who squeeze it using a machine or by hand and then provide it as juice. It is actually a much larger business than sparkling. Okay. So we said, like, if there is an existing opportunity, and there is an existing opportunity which is multiplied by the fact that India is a large grower of fruits. It's the second largest grower of fruits in the world. We grow 93 million tons of fruit, of which hardly 2 to 3% gets processed. We said this gives us a fantastic opportunity to not only build a good consumer portfolio of products, but also be very responsible in creating a circular economy, which will be really ensuring that you take something which the farmer is doing, create a consumer proposition, sell the product, take some of the money you make out of it and invest it back in helping the farmer increase their yields. Okay. That's one part of it. Okay. The second part of it, we've realized that there is some amount of ethnic trends which are cropping up. I mean, these are basically regional trends, because you know India is a very multi-ethnic country, and every 200, 300 kilometers you have a different ethnic group. So, and so we realized this was not something which we had concentrated on, even though we had the ability to be there. So we have tried with 1 or 2 products with reasonably good success. One of it is a brand called Rimzim, and the other is we have launched as an extension of the Fanta brand called Potello in Tamil Nadu, because Tamil Nadu has a blackcurrant preference. And we found this Jaljeera type of soda had very good response in many parts of the country. So that's another space we said, like, let's get in, because we find there are multiple regional players and we are capable of providing a good sort of product to the consumer.
But do these regional players account for a significant share in the overall beverage market?
See, when you take a national cut, obviously the share will not be significant. But we believe that region need not be very small. From an India perspective, if you see a region could be population of 5 crores or 50 million people, which is the size of a country. So our strength is our ability to distribute widely our products, which gives us the ability to even make a regional offering into something which is very significant for us. While it may not be getting a double-digit share of the beverage market, but even a mid-single-digit share, but widely distributed in a region is a good addition to us.
You know, you have talked about the fact that you are looking to move from being a one-category beverage player to a 2-category or even a multi category player. Give me some sense and examples of how that's going to pan out.
See, we want to be a total beverage player. I mean, we want to be present wherever the consumer desires a certain category. So it could be a straight category, it could be a mixed category, which is something like a fusion. We would be there in most of these categories. And so I'm not going to be able to specify how many categories we'll get into.
So are you saying you'll have more than 2 products in one category?
My view is, for us, the way we go is, we look at a category which the consumer desires. And once we get the category right, then we have multiple offerings in a category. Because a category need not be necessarily linear with just one offering. You take sparkling, for instance. We have five brands in sparkling. We have Thumbs Up, Coke, Sprite, Fanta and Limca. If you got juice, we have 12 to 13 flavors in juice. We could straddle all the way from 100% juice to a juice drink. Then we have just got into piloting dairy. So dairy, we have just a linear now flavored milk. So there are obviously other options that we have in dairy. Now we are testing out a certain type of iced tea. So when we really decide to expand this ready to drink tea, we are going to have multiple offerings in ready to drink tea, both in terms of flavors and in terms of mix. So every category, once we get in, we would try to really ensure that we proliferate the category to offer something for every consumer.
But I want to ask you, Mr. Kumar, if that actually makes sense for a business to have so many variations or variants, because does that finally justify, the number of products available from one stable?
See, the driving force is what the consumer wants. Now, if the consumer wants 10 varieties, of which 7 are significant, then if you want to be a total beverage player, you need to be in those 7 significant varieties. How do you make it work in terms of offering it at the right cost, the right quality, right delivery? I think is our job as a business to figure out.
Mr. Kumar, there's been a lot of commentary in the past, and you must know that as well, on Coca-Cola not utilizing its manufacturing capabilities to its fullest, a lot of your facilities being shut down. I want your perspective on how much of that commentary actually holds true and how much of that is off the charts.
See, I would like to answer this question in 2 parts. I mean, the basic statement is not absolutely true. We do invest with science and logic behind it, and our facilities are well utilized after we invest. But then the second part of the question is, we constantly keep optimizing our supply chain to keep the costs low. So that's the second trend which every company does. I mean, it's just not us. I think we are pretty much utilizing our capacities to the extent that we wanted to utilize it. Can we do a better job of it? Of course we can. Everybody aspires to utilize 100%, but as I told you right at the start, that our business is doing quite okay. So there is no stress from our side on that.
You've recently talked about also becoming a beverage plus company. First, I want you to explain to me what a beverage plus company is. Does that mean you move beyond beverages? Because clearly India is also soon going to be launching your frozen fruit, frozen dessert offering, I believe, which will happen sometime end of the year. So will you talk to me about if you're moving beyond beverages?
One of our thoughts is to really create this circular economy, where we start processing more and more of the fruit, and then we want to put this whole system that we are going to create to give raw material based on processed fruit to 4 applications. Number one, the simplest one is to create a fruit juice or a fruit beverage, which is the simplest and the straightforward one. The second area we are working on is how do we really add this to our sparkling beverage and create a nice beverage which is juice with sparkling. The third area is to look at markets where we can really utilize whatever raw material we have created out of the fruit here. The fourth application is look at beverage plus solutions. Okay. And as part of this, we have looked at one of our partners in Australia who have a frozen fruit. It's a frozen fruit actually. I mean, it's as delicious as any frozen stuff, which we are piloting at the moment in Bangalore, which we believe we can launch sometime towards the end of Q4 or Q1 next year.
Mr. Kumar, do you think the Indian palate is as evolved as some, other advanced countries?
See, this is based on Indian food. You like mango?
But frozen is a new.
You would love frozen mango. So we are just going to use the concept that we have taken from there, but everything we're going to do is with Indian fruit.
Okay.
And so people in India love Indian fruit, and I suppose anything frozen gives you that additional fun and excitement.
Right.
And this is going to be something which is zero added sugar, zero added dairy, pretty healthy, but you will never even know that it is anything but fruit.
And this will obviously be targeted to the upper middle class SECA segment.
Yeah, we'll basically be targeting middle class and above, and it is still going to be very affordably be priced. It's not going to be very high priced. So, but it would be something which I suppose people who enjoy an ice cream could have another version of it.
So can I then safely say, because we've been asking this question for a lot of years, that is Coca-Cola finally beginning to look outside beverage as well?
I would definitely say that this has nothing to do with the Coca-Cola company. No. This is something which is part of our circular economy here.
Oh, so you're saying this is a completely Indian phenomenon?
Which is an Indian phenomenon, which we are doing it for India based on India's strength of fruit growing.
Oh, is it? Okay, so this concept will not travel. Okay, fair enough. Another question I wanted to check with you, Mr. Kumar, and I think you're the perfect person to answer this, is the rural story. Not just for you, but across. 5 years ago, the big bet on rural that almost all companies took seems to have not materialized as they envisaged it, and the rural story doesn't seem to have delivered. In fact, I think the urban story is delivering more than the rural story. So somewhere there was a misreading or a miscalculation of sorts. What's gone wrong with the rural story?
See, in my view, there is nothing which has gone wrong with the rural story. The rural story is still strong for us. Where I think we need to really tweak and get better is that we have to start now creating a portfolio which is very rural. We have used the portfolio that we had to go to rural.
Sure.
So I think if we want to accelerate it and take it to the next level, we need to create a portfolio which is very rural specific, which is something we are thinking about.
I want to come to you on the current happening, which is GST. What has been the immediate impact it has had once this has come into play, and how do you foresee, the mid and near term impact with GST coming into play, given that your tax slabs have gone up significantly?
The good news from our perspective is we have been working for the last many years to be GST ready.
Okay.
And so we are pretty much GST ready. So I see that we're going to have a very good time in the medium and long term. And I think the short term is all about all of us figuring out how the system works,
the
to
implementation,
help our partners, especially in the trade,
sure,
to get into the groove. So that's I think very short term, maybe 4-5 weeks, and then we should be well on a good rhythm. I'm very, very bullish on GST really propelling our business.
I believe you're looking at, getting in, of course, restructuring your portfolio as you've talked about, but B, also looking at balancing your price value proposition and getting innovative with that. Give me some sense of, how in the coming months we are going to see, a balanced portfolio, which will also, the pricing will show some value proposition so as to, be reasonable in the minds or the psyche of the consumer.
Absolutely. See, whenever we get into these sort of situations, it's important for us to keep recognizing there are multiple consumers with different size of wallets.
Sure.
So based on that, we have started working on a value-based offering, and we are piloting that under the brand name of Kinley. Kinley is our water brand.
Okay.
It's one of the very trusted brands in the country. So we have offered at a 15 rupee price lot, 250 ml of beverage, basically in 3 flavors, basically jeera, which is the masala thing. We have orange and lemon.
Okay.
So we have test launched it. We have test launched it in 3 to 4 parts of the country. We are evaluating how it goes so that we can keep refining it. So this is our first step in ensuring that we have a portfolio which is also providing good value for consumers at that level. And we have recently also relaunched our Maaza Tetra Pak. Maaza is an incredibly loved brand in India at the 10 rupee price lot for Tetra Pak.
Okay.
Which really again gives huge value to the consumer at that level. So we are going to straddle these 2 price lots with multiple offerings, which ensures that you maintain a balance to the premium products that you are launching, as well as possibility of some price adjustments in your mainstream brands.
Mr. Kumar, if you can give me for the India market only, if you look at your beverages for life philosophy and portfolio now, if I look at the SKU right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, 65-35 would be your CBD versus, other offerings. What is your plan to, let's say, change that SKU?
See, from the perspective of the SKU, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with your percentage, but all I would say is we're going to have this portfolio.
Yeah.
I personally believe the jury and the judge is the consumer.
Okay.
Ultimately, how it goes will be decided by the consumer. I'm quite happy whichever way it goes, as long as the consumer gives us solid consumption and growth.
You've talked about, I mean, this is a global thing, but it's also going to come to India. I believe India is coming up with a program to reduce sugar content across all its products, including the colas and your juices and your ethnic carbonated drinks. How are you planning to do that, and how are you going to communicate that to, let's say, the consumers? And do you think the consumers of India really care about that?
See, I think there are multiple facets to this. We believe it's our responsibility to do that.
Okay.
So we are on the verge of launching this program where you will progressively see us really reducing the sugar content in our beverages. We are going to do that in 2 ways. One is really offering a choice of a 0-calorie range, which we already have 3 offerings at this point of time. And second, to look at a mix with natural sweeteners, which we are working on globally, where we are in fact working with some companies whom we are encouraging to set up shop in India to almost grow and process in India itself.
Oh, is
sweeteners.
it?
Yes.
Oh. Could you name
Stevia.
Stevia, okay.
We are trying to really get that done so that we can really constantly keep working on this whole agenda. We have a very transparent labeling system. So we would say what we are doing on the label, and we would slowly start also socializing people to the fact that these options are going to be available, and then we allow the consumer to make a choice. So the idea is to proactively get into this mode and do the right things.
There has been an announcement of 11,000 crores across 5 years. If you can give me a sense of how that money is being utilized.
See, it contains 2 parts. One part which is about 5,000 crores, is for buying these fruit-based raw materials to be added. The other part is the capital expenditure we would incur across the value or supply chain stream, which will include setting up filling lines, setting up our partners, setting up actually processing capabilities, and also putting in some money with the farmer to increase their yield per acre and yield per fruit.
You've made also a statement where you said that you are very keen and you're focused on getting India onto the top 5 markets. We're at number 6.
Absolutely.
You're looking to get it at number 5. I want from you how you plan to do that, and of course the timeline.
See, I have given you all that I'm going to do.
Yeah.
All this should definitely take us to become the number 5 market in the Coca-Cola system. And I definitely want to get it done by 2020.
On that note, looking forward to seeing all the launches coming from your stable, and of course seeing better quarters from you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.